All right. Real excited to have my next guest on the Sports Card Shop guest line. He is widely known. He's almost probably needs no introduction almost at this point, but great, positive, upbeat person, something we definitely need in the hobby. And happy to have him on. We're going to talk national. We're recording this before the Cleveland National, but it probably won't air until afterwards. So just keep that in mind during for those listening out there. But without further ado, Darryl Garner, or AKA Dr. Collectible, welcome.
Hey, appreciate you having me on. It's dope to be on incredible platforms that push that positivity, push the hobby. Try to get the word out to the people. As it says right here, the hobby is the people. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm all about. So I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks, Daryl. And that's our tagline. I came up with it probably 4 years ago. The show's maybe five. The show's 6 years old, 6 years
Mhm.
old, and obviously we all have a passion and love for the hobby and collectibles and the cards themselves, right? But
Right.
it's all of us, right? Without us, there would be no hobby. So that's kind of the no sexy story. I came up with the tagline rather quickly. The hobbies of people. It's the stories behind the cards, and you're an integral part of that. It's kind of the standard start off podcast question, but this is your first time on this one. Kind of your hobby start. How did you get introduced to the hobby and that good stuff?
Yeah, so for me, the biggest thing was my father. My father got me into the hobby at a young age. He showed me all about like collecting sports cards, things that nature. But for me, seeing my father collect, that got me into collecting video games. Because once again, I say this to the people. 97 was it 96, 97. Jordan is winning his sixth ring. I'm only 6 or 7 years old at that time. So for me, I was into video games. I'm collecting, stones. I'm collecting comic books. I'm collecting anything that a kid can kind of collect. Something big for me was coins as well growing up. My family was in the military, so well, I had family in the military, not my mother or father, but my grandfather traveled across the world, will always bring back different type of currencies. So for me, I was always into collecting. But when it came to sports cards, it was Kobe Bryant for me. Fell in love with the game basketball through him, watching him play, and then I started collecting Kobe Bryant cards um, from the beginning. That was like my first couple sports cards where I would go in my dad collection, peep through them, like, oh, that's Kobe Bryant. And I'd be eating cereal. I'm not watching ESPN at this time, but I am looking at the back of these cards, and like I catch Kobe play every now and then, and it's like I read his stats. So that's how I was able to keep up with him through basketball cards, through sports cards, being able to keep up with his stats. Not only that, learning how to come up with the ratios and the numbers and the statistics. So not only I was loving sports cards, but also it was educating me as a kid. I mean statistics at a at a young age like that when they show you that within high school. So for me, that was like my first little like getting into just collectibles and far as just into sports cards.
Awesome, awesome. You couldn't have a great player to collect and follow. Rest in peace, obviously.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
and you sound like you have a collector's gene between like coins and currencies, rocks,
Yes.
which is something I got into as well. And all the things that you mentioned, like you have that collector's gene that some of us have. Comic books, even you mentioned,
Yes,
and
sir.
that sort of thing. So you have that bug, that itch that you scratch. Today, obviously, when you're younger, when you
Hmm.
get older, obviously you have a little more discretionary income. Has how you collect or what you collect changed as an adult, in comparatively speaking, to a younger Mr. Garner?
Yeah. No, you're right. So my whole duality on collecting did change. I really started putting my own money up when I started understanding the hobby. Um, the biggest thing for me is that I had a situation back then in my life that I went through, and sports cards helped me get out of that. The same sports cards that I was collecting as a kid got me out of that situation when I saw them. So it was almost what I call is selling my childhood. It was rough, but at the same time, I needed that. And sports cards changed my life at that time to the point where I'm like, I want to be fully invested. And I want to figure out how I want to be fully invested in this thing. So after that, I started looking at like hobby content, things of that nature. And like I said, I really started trying to understand the market, what to buy. I tried to get into flipping a little bit. But my biggest thing to me was just to collect. So my first card that I really bought out of my own money, I sold the Xbox 360. I bought one actually, no, Series X, sorry. The Xbox Series X for 500 for my birthday. Ended up selling it like 6 months later for like 1,200 on eBay. And then I bought a Kobe Bryant Fab Floor Auto for like 800. It was a little bit over 800 on eBay raw. Sent it to Golden Auctions. They got it graded. Came back at 10. Pop one. I never did get a chance to see that autograph card after being graded, but it sold for like close to over 3,700. And that right there, I'm like, okay, now understanding this process, grading, and from there it changed my whole duality of how I like collect now and how I put money into sports cards. And my biggest thing now, I'm not a flipper, anything of that, but I'm more of a collector. I like to collect. I'm like, I want to be like Ken Golden. He sells everyone's stuff on his platform, but he's collecting everything. Why? Because he's making the money by selling everyone else product, cars, things of that nature, memorabilia. That's where I want to be. I want to be a collector at the end of the day, and that's where Dr. Collectible came from. So that's the mind frame that I'm in now compared to how I was years ago.
Yeah, and then you talk about the Kobe, the Fab Floor Auto, and then listen, we all want we want to make money with our cards sometimes, right? Because we can get more cards. That's the sometimes I feel like people feel bad, like saying, "Hey, I sold this for that," when you really shouldn't, right? Those transactions are what keeps the hobby going and flowing, and without no one was transacting, right? This hobby wouldn't be what it is, and you kind of you got a little bit of that bug, and it's nice when we can sell something maybe we're not as attached to buy something that we don't plan on selling. Like I'm a growing up in Brooklyn. Jackie Robinson was my guy for a long time. I didn't have the Leaf rookie. Um, had opportunities to buy it. Kind of just I'll get it another time. And then I finally said, if you don't get it now, it was starting to go up. Obviously, you're not going to get this card, John. It's behind me over this shoulder here, and never to be sold. Like when I'm not here, my son's going to get it. I'm hoping he keeps it and passes that tradition on to his future kids and that sort of thing. But those sales, right, allow us to acquire stuff that we don't have an intention to sell, stuff that's in our PC. And I sometimes people feel funny like doing that or talking about it. I don't know why, because it's just part of the hobby. Your kind of your take on that.
Yeah, man. Far as like just like, and when you say it's like my overall take on the hobby in general, just like the overall landscape. Uh, right now is to me it's everywhere. It's a good thing though. It's new people coming in, old people coming out, more back and forth. Wherever you into this hobby, I'm hoping that you in it for the joy of it, the ride, the chase, going to find that card that you want. I'm not telling you to go out there and spend your money. For me, my biggest thing for me is to let people know I'm not here to influence. I'm not here to influence anyone to tell you to go buy this, don't go do this. No, I'm here to expose the hobby to the masses, so they can take their perspective on it through great content, through that positivity. Once again, you get a lot of this bad content that's always being pushed out, things of that nature, and once again, that draws a narrative to people that don't know about the hobby, which they may steer from in the future, or you may that kid that you see at the car shop or that car show, you don't know if that kid is going to be the next car show owner or next car shop owner that's going to help bring opportunities in the future for many individuals. So for me, the landscape of the hobby, I think, is going the right direction. We need more great individuals to help steer that forefront with great car shows, great car shops, giving a great experience. It just doesn't take one business that's going to do this. It's going to take the community together in order to do this. And like I say, Jay Leno, he has what they say, a $3 billion car collection. I mean, hey, if he can enjoy collecting cars, then why everyone in this hobby can enjoy something by collecting it. So that's kind of like my pinpoint on where I think this hobby is going. And in the long haul, I'm hoping people can find what they want in this space. Just like I should be able to connect with someone that collects sports cars the same way someone collects crystals, the same way someone collects coins and currency. We should be able to connect as a community.
Yeah, well said, well put. And whatever you collect, like you said, Jay Leno with his car collection. We're
Mm-hmm.
doing sports cards, non-sports cards, whatever it might be, crystals, geology, rocks, coins. Right? It's
Yes.
really it's a fraternity of collecting, as you said.
Bingo.
So, yep. So it's important. Yeah, and you do such a great job with positivity. Talk about becoming Dr. Collectible. How did this all begin? That transformation, if you will, kind of speak to that process, and then
Mm-hmm.
we'll talk some more about current stuff. But how did that come to be?
Yes. So it all came to intuition like after the situation I went through. And then one thing about me was like I want to create an identity for myself. Before I was doing Dr. Collectible, I was dancing and acting. So I had been in a few movies, TV shows, then been on tour for dancing. So I always kind of like had an identity for myself. And I'm like, okay, this is something completely different. How can I be different for this hobby? Be something good, but be different. Um, my biggest thing for me was like, all right, I want to create identity because all I seen online was people posting sports cards, right? But then when I go to a show, I don't even know who is who because all I see is their hands and sports cards. You don't never see really. You wasn't seeing people faces out there besides people that was actually creating content. So that was my first thing when it came to creating my identity. Second thing was I started looking at content creators and seeing how can I be differently. The biggest thing for me was when I decided to create a business, which was Dr. Collectible as well, turned into a business and a brand. I wanted to say, how can I make revenue in the hobby without having to sell a card? Because once again, that goes back to me being a collector. So then I'm like, okay, let me figure out what can I do off the trajectory of like the whole hobby. What can I do to bring something different? So I started looking back into my roots of acting and dance. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get into content creating. And I said, you know what? I don't want to be just a content creator. I want to be treated as a business. So that started turning into partnering with the car shows, partnering with the car shops, asking for equity in certain businesses in the hobby that I feel like I believe in. It's the first time I'm saying this out loud. And on your platform, I'm a 5% holder of Car Boss. So that was like my vision of what I wanted to do. I wanted not only people to accept me as a content creator or just as an influencer, but respect me as a business individual, because that's how I want to come into this. I want to I want to collect, but also I want to be treated as a businessman. This hobby, and that's where the mindset just all kind of stirred from. Literally, I was living in my car for 2 weeks after my situation. And be honest with you, house fire situation that I had, was in my car for 2 weeks, and being in my car for 2 weeks really made me just really dive into who I was at that time. I even chose to be in that situation as well because I never been in that before. So yeah, I could have been in a hotel, things of that nature, but my mindset at that point was to create a business. I was willing to put the $125 into my business and sit in my car and not have gas in my tank. It sounds crazy, but that's how much I believed in my dream, you know? Um, so that's where all that stood from at the beginning, and how Dr. Collectible became a dream into a reality. Had to put the dream in place first, had to have that imagination as an adult. That's what we don't want to lose is imagination. Kids got it. That's why they can think so far and move so far and think light years ahead. But then when you come in as an adult, you start looking at things realistically and start looking things for what they are, and not realizing like, hey, excuse my language when I say it, but you can turn shit into sugar. Like seriously, if you really put your mindset to it. So that's why all the Dr. Collectibles started off from, with me and that passion and just being like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to be a business individual, and I just took that approach.
Yeah, like you said, you had a vision, you had a plan. You just had to put the things in order to get the priorities right. And here you are. I'm a venture, and you don't live in your car anymore, thankfully. But
God.
keeps things in perspective, right? That no matter what I like the message there, Darryl. Is like no matter what your state of life is in the moment, right? That doesn't have to be the end all or be all of it. You can get out of that. You can move higher. You
Yes,
just
sir.
like you said, you gotta have a plan. You gotta have a vision. You gotta have even a little imagination, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes our dreams might even sound too big for us, but that doesn't mean we can't go for it. And I think that's an important message there as well. Um,
Thank you,
your
sir.
travel and your travel schedule, like you're at most of the big shows, other shows they're not always the big ones either. You do a lot of traveling. Talk about the grind of that. Is it tough? I mean, people listen. Car shows are fun. I'm not arguing that fact. I love them myself, but to do it as much as you do, right? While it's fun, there's also a lot of work and blood, sweat, and tears that goes
Yes,
into
sir.
that kind of schedule. Kind of talk to the grind of that, of those appearances and traveling and making, it's almost every weekend it seems like where I see you, you're in a different locale. But who better to talk about it than the person doing it? So go ahead
Yes, sir.
there.
Yeah. It is a grind. I'm gonna be honest with you. It is. Yes. It's all fun and games. I love what I do. Being able to travel, see the world. But before actually getting into that lane, I was working 3 jobs. I was working at Cracker Barrel as retail. I was working overnight on movie sets, doing wardrobe, and I was also, what else I was doing? I was a DJ for weddings for like 5 years, kind of before that time. So that's that mindset that I have, that Mamba mentality. Like every day, I should be able to wake up and want to live, breathe, and what I'm doing at all times. And that's the approach that I always try to take. Um, I mean, it got to the point where a lot of people ask me like why I wear glasses sometimes at shows, but like sometimes I do look tired. I am exhausted. I'm gonna be honest with you sometimes, and sometimes I want to hide that while I'm on camera in HD, and guys are looking at me on the camera, and I'm putting out content like, "Yo, why you look so tired?" Yes, because I'm exhausted from traveling different time zones. I really found that out in the past like two and a half years, how rough that can be on the body, um, and how my time frame is just off sometimes. But as a businessman, you want to grind, you want to get at it, and I take everything as a blessing as well because I'm able to see this world for what it is with my own lenses, and that's why I've learned a lot from traveling, and that's the blessing that comes with it. I personally had got a I worked on a partnership. I was so exhausted at one time. I reached out to G Fuel, which I have a partnership with. They are an energy drink, and doing work with them with like sports. Shout out to Mark Zablo. He put me in a great situation with them, and I was doing content. They wanted me to go out and do content for this football event that had quarterbacks in it, high school quarterbacks, and it was for G Fuel. After that, I tried it. It's an all natural drink, and from there, I started feeling better at these shows. Switching it up from that. Also wearing comfortable shoes. That's something I do as well. I'm not wearing my best shoes at shows. Yes, I like to get fresh, things of that nature, but I'm dressing very comfortable. That's something else that I have to learn in the process. So just them little things, once again, picking out an energy drink to try to partner with and bring them into the hobby, but at the same time, utilizing it seriously. Like, I'm not just saying I got a partnership with this company, but I'm also utilizing it on a daily basis. So for me, that grind, that grit was already like built in me. And I knew when the time happened for me to be able to go out and do them things and travel, I was going to be ready, but I didn't expect it to be overwhelming as it is sometimes because I can find myself in Florida and Miami, and literally I'm flying across the country to LA, which is crazy. Shout out to Rizzo Sports, doing work with them out there. So traveling is a blessing, but yeah, it can get hectic at times.
Well, I appreciate you being honest, right? A lot of times, people in the industry or the hobby, they want to talk about all the W's and what you do. It is tiring, man. I'm listen. I'm gonna get back from the national here at the end of this coming week, and I gotta
Right?
go back to work. Right, I'm that first day, probably the first couple. Heck with the first day, first couple days, I'm gonna be dragging. Like that's and I'm older than you, but you're
Yes, sir.
also like you said, you're a natural grinder. You like you said, holding down three jobs at different times a day. Like I don't know when you slept, man, but God bless you.
Yeah.
But so you have that instilled in you, like that grind mentality. I mean, where did it come from? Was it parents? Was it a combination of things? Where did that hey, I'm working as much of the day as I can
Yeah.
get away with and still function. Where did that get instilled in you?
Yeah, so it's two parts to that. Yes, my mother and father. Shout out to my mother, Terry Greenwood, strong individual. I mean, her name is on the back of my car as well as my father. Um, them two have instilled everything in me from putting me into um, private school to you know public school, been through everything from playing sports. They made sure I was active. They did everything they could. My mom was working like two jobs. My dad worked one job, but he taking me to school, taking me to practice. Sometimes I only see my mom at night when she comes home from working two jobs. But they did everything they could to make sure that I had a great life. And also, the community of my family was a big part of that as well. The other thing was me moving from Illinois to Georgia. I moved from East St. Louis to Atlanta. I've been here for about 15 years now, and I have nobody here besides my sister and a few of my friends that I grew up with, and some very close individuals that I call friends as well, that I found out here. So I had no choice. When I moved out of my mom's crib, I knew it was like around 23. My mom said, "Hey, you can move out when you're ready," and I made sure that I didn't want to come back knocking on my mom's door. Uh, and she was gonna look at me like, "Hey, was you ready?" That's the last thing that I want to do. So that's where that grind comes from. Being able to show my mom and father like, "Yo, what y'all did all y'all life to get me right as an individual, as an adult. Yes, I'm going to show y'all that. Yes, I'm going to put that out to the world. Whether if it's working, whether if it's traveling, whether if it's whatever. But that's where that grind comes from. Two of my parents, and like I say, coming from East St. Louis, Illinois, not one of the best places to grow up. I love that city. I love it. Great food, great people, but at the same time, it's a big struggle. Um, one of the one of the most feared cities in the country. Not only that, so being able to grow up there um, was rough, and not knowing that if I'm gonna pass 21. I had friends down in high school. While I was in college, like even when I went off to traveling, I come back in town and there's something going on, something happening to a person I grew up with. So once again, that grind makes me not want to go back to that. That was my big reason of moving as well. So that's where that comes from. Um, my parents, where I grew up from, and me making that transition of becoming a man when I decided to move to Atlanta.
I appreciate you, man. Giving respect and shine to your parents. For getting you prepared, right, to be your own man, and you want to honor them by being the best man you can be, right? Not that like
Yes,
if,
sir.
if something didn't work out and you had to come back home, it don't mean anyone failed. It's just
Right.
a moment in time. But
Yes, sir.
you still, like you said, your mom said, "Hey, when you're ready, you'll know it," or take that leap. Um, and you want to honor their, how they raised you by being successful, which
Yep.
you are, and that's a testament to your work ethic, your mindset, and I'm sure obviously they're proud of you. I appreciate hearing you, uh, paying your respects back to them with mentioning them on the back of your tops card.
Yes, sir.
You didn't have to necessarily do that, but you
Yeah.
felt in your heart it was the right and thing to do, and I'm sure that got them, well, emotional and even more proud. But it's nice hearing those stories, right? Sometimes we neglect to honor those who made it possible for us to do the things we do, but that you don't fall into that category. You do meant, you do care. It's
Yes, sir.
important to you, and without them, right, we wouldn't, you wouldn't be where you are. I got to ask you, we
Yeah.
talked about the guy. I also appreciate you saying, "Hey, I'm tired." Listen, dude, I'm traveling. I'm going from one coast to the next coast. Like, I don't care how old you are, 25, 55,
Yes.
35, 45. That's tiring for anyone. It's refreshing to hear you say, "Listen, I'm a grinder, but I get tired too. I'm human. I'm not I'm mortal." And to admit that, right? Like,
Yes, sir.
cut me a little slack here. I'm working this hard. I'm gonna be tired. Nothing
Yes,
wrong with
sir.
that. Speaking of that, how many weekends of the year? There's 52 weeks in the year. How many weekends would you say? At least one of the days, if not both, you're at a show somewhere, even if it's in Atlanta or somewhere even closer to home, but where you're not, just at home, kind of refreshing or decompressing. Out of 52 weeks, how many would you say are hobby? You're working in the hobby in some form or fashion.
I can say last year, no exaggeration, None, none. I wish I could tally up how many flights I took last year, how many trips I took on the road. I can tell you last year, I had an opportunity to go home. Opportunity to go home last year in December. And for the first time in my life, I paid my mom bills. And she has a great husband as well. Tim, great individual. God, look as a stepfather, done nothing but right by me and my mother and my sister and my family. But I I spent a December with them, a little bit of November. So I want to say for 4 weeks, six at most, I didn't do nothing for 6 weeks out of them 50. We say 50, was it 54 weeks if I'm not mistaken? 54, 56. So in that time frame, I got a chance to be with my mom for the month of December. I was still working. That's when I first started getting in with Fanatics Live, things that nature. Had started a partnership deal with them to start doing content for their platform. But still, though, I was still able to be at home during that time. But yeah, at least I want to say 6 weeks out of that year, I wasn't doing nothing hobby related. 6 weeks at least that and that's what I can say that's what I can remember. Every week was dedicated to the hobby. I made amends with myself. I'm gonna tell you what I said at the beginning of the year. I had a very interesting conversation with Prison God at Coach Collision, and I remember he had it was his first year doing the card star game. And I remember doing the content, things of that nature. This is one of my first car shows that I ever went to as well, years back. And he remembered me and things of that nature just throughout the years doing content. He said, hey, you keep doing what you're doing, you might end up in this game next year. And you got guys like Mojo, King of Cards, Roth Cards in this game, Mama Breaks, C Blast, and I can keep going. But for me, when he told me that, that's when I dedicated the year. I said, you know what? So and so that been on Topps card, I want to do that. But I need to outgrind everyone. I have to outgrind. I have to drop content every single day. I maybe didn't put nothing on my page that year for maybe like, I would say a week long full of days where like I just didn't maybe put none up, or I was dealing with family, or it was a holiday, something like that. But I can literally tell you, out of the whole year, maybe there was about a week full where I just didn't do anything, and that's sporadically throughout the year of the time frame. I can say at least a week worth where I didn't do anything. So I made sure that I was at the Mint Collective. I was at Coach Collision. I wanted to go to every show. And then on top of that, for 3 years, I watched everyone make content. So for me, the biggest thing for me, even in that standpoint, is all that traveling and all that stuff I'm doing, is because I know there's some kid at home, there's some adult at home that did not make it to this show. And they're watching the show through my content. So I'm out there going, interviewing every vendor, trying to figure out, what this business is about, what they do. Because once again, I was that person for 2 to 3 years, trying to find myself in the hobby, creating content. And once again, that's what I do it for, just to put that aspect out there. But yeah, that was it. I want to say for that time frame in a year, 6 weeks where I was at home, a week where I literally dedicated nothing but probably just to myself or family or something like that. So that's how much I wanted it. I hope I explained that right.
No, you did. Hey, listen, let me to give you everyone the shorthand right. This is one of the hardest working guys in the hobby, and self-admittingly, you know what I mean. You're doing it, and you want to do it, even though it's tiring. It's a grind. you're still enjoying the process and that sort of thing. When
Yes, sir.
and here's the other thing: people think, I know this is not the case, but I think there are people who think like, hey, you go to the show on Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the rest of the week you can do whatever the heck you want to. We both know that's not the case. You're doing stuff on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. It's not just a show on Saturday and Sunday. So this is
Yes,
not,
sir.
people who think like, hey, you fly in, you work 2 days, and then you party hardy or rest for 5 days. They're thinking wrong, because that's not how this goes. So I want to mention that,
Yes,
and
sir.
others in the hobby as well. The hobby's not just 2 days a week. The hobby is 7 days.
It's some every day.
Yeah. So let's make that. I think most people know, but I think some people don't realize that. So for those folks, this is a commitment, man. This is a grind. You're doing it. You're doing a terrific job of it. But
Thank you,
when you're
sir.
not in the hobby and doing hobby related stuff, is there something that is relaxing, like something you go to, that you enjoy, whether it be maybe just, hey, closing my eyes and putting my headphones on? Like, what's your, like, non-hobby thing that you enjoy doing, that kind of gets you refreshed and recharged? Do you have something?
Yeah. Every time I go home, come back, reflect on what's going on, I get away and play video games. That's my one getaway. Once again, I told you years ago, I kind of sold my Xbox Series X to like focus fully just on bidding. I didn't want no distractions, no nothing. I was on eBay every day, this, that, this, and that. But to get away from just collectibles and the hobby, video games would do it for me. I recently just got the not NCAA but EA Sports Football that just recently came out. Just recently been playing like the 2K, the Kobe version, the Kobe edition. Recently just been playing that like I want to say like 3 4 months ago. So yeah, I just started getting back on the game. Um, so that has been helping me out. But before the game, I want to say for me, listening to music. I love music. I collect music as well, whether if it's like vinyls. Big fan of AMG and what they're doing with music collectibles. So for me, I love music. I love listening to music. Once again, that goes back to me being a dancer. Back in the day, being a choreographer. So music always takes me away, especially when I'm traveling, things of that nature. It just bring me back to maybe listening to some childhood music or listening to something that's up to date. It's just refreshing, especially coming across a lot of people at shows, taking pictures, doing content, um, the music. Sometimes even in a show, at a show, I might go away for 30 minutes, sit to myself, and listen to music and eat. Cause once again, that just recharges me and then gets me back going to what I need to do.
Yeah, no doubt. And you need that personal time, that personal space, especially you're dealing with people all day. And as much fun as that is,
Hmm.
everyone has a limit. Like, I just need a break. I need to recharge, get some get some nourishment, and get back out there. No one can fault you for that. Completely get that. You mentioned your background in dancing and acting. I'll kind of answer this question for you. It's probably made being Dr. Collectible and being sort of on the front lines probably easier, because you're sort of used to being in front of people. Um,
Yep.
so speak to kind of the background there, and what you do now. It's made that transition, I imagine, easier to do than if someone wasn't a dancer or an actor. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, a lot of that has where being in front of the camera, being around people, things of that nature, it kind of rubbed off into creating content. For example, I can be myself, and all of a sudden I can click and be like, Hey, what's going on, guys? Your boy Dr. Collectible here. This is Sports Card Nation podcast. You might want to tune in every so and so. Like, I can just click in and it's automatic. Like, a lot of people, when they figure out my work ethic and they start seeing like me in the aura or what I'm doing, like I've heard names of One Take Jake, um, and all kind of stuff, because once again, they really truly see when they see me in the act, not what I edit and put it out there, but they see that, oh wow, this guy is really what he is. A lot of my stuff, it's not sometimes even edit. I might just put up the whole thing, captions, boom, put it out because the take was just so good. So for me, that acting, dancing led off into being able to transition to content creating. Um, I wasn't really talking about businesses or things of that nature. But I've learned how to transition the business aspect into content create and just making it what it is for myself. So once again, like I said, I can just click and what's going on, guys? Your boy Dr. Collectible here. We at the National. I'm with my people, Sports Card Nation podcast. Like, it just rubs off the tongue completely. I don't know why, but that I guess that just comes from that work ethic and knowing myself and being truly comfortable with myself as well. That's sometimes that I found out being around the content creator. Just be comfortable. It ain't nothing wrong with doing a take 2, 3, 4. You want to put the right content out there, but be comfortable with yourself. And I think that will make you comfortable in your content, which then it becomes genuine. It becomes you. I'm not getting, once again, people be like, hey, it's Dr. Collectible, but they also probably will feel like, hey, I know Darryl Garner too. It's because it's just all naturally. It's truly me. It's not an act at all. So dance and acting helped me 10 times in the space that I'm in now when it comes to content creating. I can definitely tell you that was a plus because I probably wouldn't have enough courage like some of these kids like Eli. Um, he's doing a great job at a young age. Um, the Blake now, another kid is doing a great job at a young age creating content. I was not doing that at their ages. So kudos to them and their parents and what they're doing with them. But that's where I feel like I am with myself, man. I feel like I'm a kid all over again in my teenage years, creating that content and putting it out there to the world in a comfortable way as I can.
Yeah, awesome stuff. And like you said, if you're comfortable in your skin, I think that's half the battle right there. Right? Is
Yes,
hey,
sir.
I'm me. Here we go. Let's do this. And you know, so many people aren't at that point. You almost gotta, like, I don't want to say train, but like get there. But for
Yep.
you, it's more of a natural thing. And like you said, between dancing and acting, it makes it easier to be yourself. Because I always say I'm not a dancer, so I'm not giving any dancing. But I know this much, Darryl. Like, if you can dance, if you're a good dancer, you're probably most likely an extrovert because so there's people who are actually good dancers that don't want to do it in front of people. So if you're a
Yeah.
good, because they feel like people are critiquing them or watching them. But if you're a good dancer and can just do it in front of a group, a crowd, on stage, like everything else is going to be probably easier because dancing is probably the most vulnerable you can kind of make yourself.
Yep.
I think, because everyone's looking at you because not everyone's dancing. If everyone's dancing, then it's watch it. But when there's only a few people, right? Everyone's watching, and you got to be confident to get to that point. So I could see the correlation and why you're so natural at what you do now. I got to ask you this a little funny question here. Has anyone
Yeah.
ever come up to you and asked you for medical advice?
Hey, yo, hold on. All right, so look, I haven't got the medical advice yet, but I've have had people come to me and be like, "Well, you ain't got no PhD, do you?" I'm like, "No, I don't have a PhD. I don't. I wanted to be a doctor growing up. That's something I wanted to do, but no, I don't have a PhD. I've had people come to me about, yeah, my advice on my on cards. Because my dad, he used to clean his cards. He know how to preserve his cards. So
Yeah.
um one of my biggest things was like I want to when I sign my name on like my cards, things of that nature, I do doc RX, is to say to medicate the hobby in certain ways. And that's something that I wanted to do was when I first started, I wanted to create a cleaning kit. It's like 4 or 5 years ago, and call it like the Dr. Collectibles kit. It'll come with, car sleeves, something easy. I'm not Kurt's Car Care or Mr. Minty or nothing of that nature, but I wanted to give something to the hobby what my dad taught me at a young age on how he preserved his cars. One thing I can say, he kept his cars in brown paper bags, but he had them in the car savers, the sleeves, in the booklet, and then he'll have them in like brown paper bags, or he have them in boxes. So for that being said, it's like, yeah, I I haven't got that, but I have got a lot of jokes throughout the years and recent time where, yeah, people do come at me with the doctor jokes, and I love it. Like I said, I love it because it's a sense of humor. But for you to ask that question, that was very interesting. Like I said, a lot of that has came from people asking me, "Do I have a doctor's degree or a doctorate or something like that?" So
Well, I mean, I hope you didn't take it. I just think sometimes people just think maybe they think you're a doctor, like 9 to 5, and then like you're still in the hobby. And so, hey, man, I got this ailment. Can you take a look at this? Like, what's going on with, I just wondered if you know, got something like that. But
you know what? To mention, I have a lot of friends back at home that I help sell. Like a lot of my friends back in East St. Louis, that lives out there. A lot of them have been in situations where they hit me up like, "Yo, I see what you're doing now. Could you look at my old collection?" Like I literally just looked at a friend of mine's named Roscoe. He's in a group called the Sports Wave. I've been in this group for like the past like 8 or 9 years. We all talk about sports, but he recently hit me up. He's the administrator of that group. Never really talked to him. Recently hit me up and was like, "Hey, would you check out my sports cards?" And we was on FaceTime for like, I want to say a good hour, and I was just scamming through what he had, told him what I felt like could be valuable. And from there, hopefully he can help himself. He's not in the hobby, but that's how we get people interested. That's them different ways. Something I
yeah,
don't even talk about on the internet at all. This is my first time actually speaking on this, but once again, that does happen behind closed doors. So I'm kind of glad you brought that up because I do a lot of that behind closed doors where I help people out, especially back at home where they like, "Hey, I got this collection or I got this. Um, could you tell me what this could be worth?" So yeah, it does happen. It does happen, but it's a lot of it's behind closed doors. A lot of people reaching out to me personally.
yeah, and you like you said, you never know. Maybe that person catches the bug, the itch, and then the next thing you know, they're standing next to you at the show with some cards they bought, right? And hey, thanks, Doctor Collectible. After our conversation, I love this stuff. Like I'm getting into this, and you never
Yeah,
know. It just could be from one conversation, right? That's all it has to take, and that sort of thing. You
I
know,
agree.
we already spoke to you do a lot of traveling. You go to all these shows. I know you love every show. This is not necessarily a slight. We got the national come. This will be out. The national will be in the books. But is the national the show for you, or not necessarily? Like, what's your? Do you have one you really, really, really look forward to? Maybe over the others. Is it the national? Is it something else? Maybe. And why?
Yeah, I do have a few favorites. I couldn't tell. I couldn't pinpoint them, but I would say this. This is how I would break it down for me and for shows and what I have experienced. First off, I'm excited for things that are new, such as Fanatics Fest, what they're doing in New York. I'm excited for that. National for me, and my first national was last year. Got a chance to have my dad come out and experience that as well in Chicago. Once again, from East St. Louis, it's only about 3.5 hour drive to Chicago, maybe 4. So to experience the national for me, I consider it the Super Bowl of sports car shows. This is when you got the college football and you're talking about all the bowls that are going on, but everybody talking about the playoffs. It's the playoffs right here. Who ready? Who ready to get it in? Who ready to make the big sales? Who ready to network? Some people that you may not ever see in your lifetime will probably be there. Um, Content creators that you may see that you've been watching for the past years. Then people are probably going to be there. For me, the National is once again the Super Bowl of all card shows. Um, that's just how I look at it. That's my experience from it. People may not agree. People may think others, but that's for me personally. Now, there are some amazing shows out there. Coach Collision was my first show I attended years back. I want to say 4, 5 years ago, something like that. Um, I love the Bay Area Car Show. That's another show out there in Florida and in the Tampa area, more like Clearwater. Um, Amazing show. It's free to attend. Not only that, the owner and what he do, uh, I do nothing but support him. Anytime he tell me to come out, I definitely make sure I make it. So that's another great show. I can keep going. I want to name a few more. Hobby Slam.
Okay.
Hobby Slam is another great show in Miami. Uh, I've always come across someone, especially in the Hispanic culture, that say, "Hey, this is my first show." So I know there's diversity going on out there, and we're bringing more people in that show. So I'm always grateful to work with them guys. Another show would be the Crown Jewel in Rhode Island. I've worked with them the past couple of years. Worked on their first show, and it's their second show. Amazing show. Um, Not one of the biggest shows, but I made it upon me to add them to my road to the national, to help give them that promotion because I believe in the people in that show, and they have done nothing but treated me good, and they also give back to the community. So them are a few shows. I wish the Men Collective could come back. I love that whole experience in Vegas, networking. Um, but there are, like I say, a lot of shows that I can just keep naming that I've been to. The Flip Trade Show in Alabama that just happened this past Saturday. Another great show that's getting bigger and bigger. I mean,
And then
man,
listen,
I've
there are
been to
going to
so
be some new
much.
ones. They're going to be. You're going. I don't know how you're going to fit it in your schedule, but you know just as well as I do. There are going to be some new ones that
Yeah.
will come in. Like we're going to have to make the year longer so you can get all these in the year. Still get some family time in
Yes,
there
sir.
as well. We're gonna have to make we're gonna we're gonna have to go to like a 400-day a year calendar to get some of these newer shows that are popping up. So
I
I
do want to
yeah,
add
go ahead.
in there one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Charlie's Collectible Show. They gave me an opportunity to be able to host my own show out here in Atlanta. Look like we might be pushing for September. Promotion will be out soon, but there's not many shows going out here in Atlanta like that. Coach Collision, I would say, is probably the biggest show that happens out here, sports card related. Um, and there are other shows like the George Collectible Show and others, but Charlie's Collectible Show, they have not only just sports card but TCG. Um, like 2 weeks, I was just there, and they had the lady. I don't know if you watch anime, but I watch Dragon Ball Z. They had the lady Linda that does the voice of Frieza in Dragon Ball Z. They're doing signings, talking to people, and I just think it's a dope show. I'm looking forward to working with them, and they're giving me a great opportunity to help build on the success that they have. Been talking with this show for the past year and a half when they was just starting to start off. So a year and a half in the making, they're finally doing what they're doing. They just reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I think it's time." So that's one of the new shows that I think would be great to attend if you're in the Atlanta area. Charlie's Collectible Show.
There you go. And your schedule just, if it was even possible, your schedule just got busier. All right,
Yes, sir.
I got one more question, Darryl.
Yes.
Hobby Magic Wand. It's obviously not a real thing, but I don't do this every guest, but I'm giving it to you. It's a magic wand. You got one hobby related wish. You can use it on anything hobby you want. I give it to you. What are you doing with it?
Can I be? Uh, Man, I mean, I wish I could wish for like world peace or something like that with this.
Well, it's gotta be. Well, you can wish for hobby peace. You can. It's gotta be hobby related. I
Hobby
like. I
related,
like the
yeah.
world peace thing. I like the world
Um,
peace thing, but it's gotta be a
yes.
hobby related.
It for me, if it wasn't a hobby related piece everywhere, um, for me and more of a personal aspect, I've been blessed to get my own sports card, to work with some of the most interesting businesses in this hobby. But for me, as a collector, I want every Kobe Bryant 101. I'm right now. I'm building a pot one collection of every year that he played, an autographed version of the card, and it's a pot one of that year that he played. It's not one on ones. We're talking about pot one. So 9 times out of 10, most of these individuals either got these cards based, and 9 times 10 they got Kobe to sign the card, whether if it was at a game, event, something like that. Them are the cards that I've been collecting because once again, I find a base card with a Kobe Bryant auto. It's graded, PSA, Beckett, whatever. And as long as it's pot one, I'm grabbing it. That's my biggest thing. I would love to finish off this collection. Um, it's been 4 years in the making. I almost felt like I was gonna go broke a few times trying to get the collection together, my brother. Woo! Some. Hey,
When you
that's why I
wave
work with
this
3 jobs.
wand,
That's
you're
where
gonna
the three
wave.
jobs come
If
from.
if this wand was real and you waved it, a card would be on someone's desk 1 minute, and then they turn their head and it's gone. And like
Oh man,
it's
it'd be right in my lap, brother. It'd be right in my lap, right in my lap. Kobe Bryant.
there,
It'd be right in my lap.
there you
So,
go. Well,
um,
listen. Good luck. Adding to that impressive collection. I know where we're. This will be out after the Nationals actually done, but I'm looking forward to seeing you again here in a few days. At the
yes.
time of this recording, I don't know where you get your energy. If you bottle and sell it, I'll buy some. But God bless you, man. You one of the hardest working guys, people in the hobby, and keep going, man. And you're doing a great job. And like you said, whether it inspires an older person, a younger person, right, and you have that sort of impact, that can't be belittled. That's important, and you never know what kind of impact you have. And even if we know it's more than one, but even if it's one person, that's quite an impact. So, God
Nah,
bless you,
thank you.
man. Keep
Thank
keep
you.
going. I'll see you here in a little bit.
Hey, and for everyone that's going to be viewing it, first off, I want to say, brother, thank you for reaching out to me. For the people that are seeing this episode, I want y'all to go out and support this man here. He reached out to me. Is a great individual, business related. I wish I would have seen your message earlier. I apologize
That's
about
all.
that.
That's all
But
right. Listen. I
yeah,
hope both of us are going to be doing this a long time. So,
hey man, can't wait. And also,
yeah.
yeah, I'm hoping. I'm hoping. I'm not guaranteeing nothing, but I'm gonna make sure that you get that picture that you need in order to get that thing in the booklet, man, with the
Yeah.
cards. I
We'll
think that's
talk.
just an amazing idea.
Yeah. Well, I'll get you. I'll get you my email. We'll make that happen. So, all
Thank you.
right, Doctor Collectible Man, hardest working person. One of the hardest working person in the hobby. I don't know. Someone can only be tied with you. They ain't beating you. So, and good luck to them if they're even trying that. So, hey, I'll see you. I'll see you soon.
Hey, see you soon, bro.